my good fortune that I get to talk to you after all that we watched and the adrenaline that, rushes in every time we see one of those videos. So I want to start talking about your early years. This city is particularly close to your heart because you've done your schooling in Coimbatore. How were the formative years of your life, and how far was your father an inspiration who was a champion rally driver himself?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me at the India Today Conclave. Yes, I'm very much part of this city. Was born here, raised here, and until my 10th standard, studied in the Staines Higher Secondary School. Coimbatore means a lot to me, and I've been living quite a lot away from the city. But like any modern city in India, we're growing fast, and a lot of infrastructure that's coming along. And there is even a new racetrack which is not too far away from here. A lot of things, exciting things are happening in Coimbatore.
I want to talk more about that, but really to talk about your early years, your schooling, your father as an inspiration, and to be India's first Formula One driver. It must have taken a lot given the lack of resources back in the day.
Yeah, you can imagine, racing right now in India, has a lot of focus, especially on Formula One, because what Netflix has done to it in the last 4 years, of course, the Formula One movie itself, but, trying to, the aspiration of wanting to be a Formula One driver from Coimbatore in the 90s, where, nobody had done really international motor racing. It was a huge challenge. It was definitely not a walk in the park, but I went through a lot of struggles and, a lot of, sometimes you miss many opportunities, but the dream, the goal, the ever-desiring goal was to, become India's first Formula One driver. And, the stars lined up. I had a lot of support. It's a very expensive sport. There are a lot of barriers. You're racing in Europe. People, don't, in Indian racing, people were like, really? But then things changed. I had the support of Mr. Tata. The Tata Group supported me. And, so made it possible. I mean, the desire to get there was very, very high. And one goal, one vision was to get to F1. And that happened way back in 2005. So, it was a great day for the Indian motorsport community. And ever since, we've not had a Formula One driver. We're close to getting another one, I think. But, it's been quite the journey for sure.
And after you tasted success of the many, many years that you spent in Europe, which would you describe as the highlights of your career that shaped your life the most?
Obviously, in my early career, winning in England in the Formula 3 Championship, that was something that really gave me the confidence that I knew that I had what it takes to go all the way. Of course, making it to Formula 1 in 2005 with Eddie Jordan's Jordan Grand Prix team has to be the highlight. You're racing, you dream of racing against Michael Schumacher and so on, and to be really doing it was a surreal moment for sure. But that was probably one of the best memories I've had in racing, yes.
You have raced alongside the legends of global motorsport, and for any aspirant, they would crave to kind of have the global exposure that you've had. What did you take from them?
The commitment and the dedication of how hard these athletes work. They might be talented, but they use their talent and all the tools that are given to them in a very constructive way and focus the energies on that. That's how you achieve success. And nothing comes simple in life. Everything is, you need to work hard at it. And of course, the European and American culture of racing is so strong that the grassroots levels of racing is at a very high level. So that's why they produce a lot of young drivers and riders from those countries.
How do you train your mind before you get into a race? Is there a sense of fear that creeps in, of any uncertainty that lies ahead of you? How do you remember those years?
Yes, racing is still a very dangerous sport, and the fear factor is always there in the back of the mind, and you have to respect the sport or else it will bite back very badly at you. Not only you put others at risk, but thankfully the tracks and the cars, are all become much more safer. The last fatality in Formula One was way back 10 years ago. Jules Bianchi lost his life at the Japanese Grand Prix, or the accident, severe injuries led to his eventual passing away. But it's a sport where by the time I made my debut in Formula One, fitness was something which was very there was a lot of focus on fitness. Simulators had become, just started coming into the sport, and then working with your team, you have lots of data flowing through, so that we make the best out of these tools and that's what I learned. The first year in racing in Formula One was like nothing ever before. Nothing prepares you to, get to Formula One. You would have seen the movies, the F1 movie. It's loosely based on a real Formula One driver. And, the amount of course, it's a bit dramatized, but then it's largely what happens. The insights of the sport is very well captured and very well, put together as a film. And Brad Pitt did a superb job.
Since you mentioned movie, the news that is doing the rounds since the last 1 month, especially of your biopic that is to be made. You're India's #1 Formula One driver. How does it feel to have a film based on your life? And what are your expectations from it? Who should play your character?
It's, I think, a little bit premature to say, but the script looks quite good, actually, quite exciting. So the journey to Formula One is what they're going to capture from a very young age. How it happened, what happened in Coimbatore, when I grew up. And it's up to the Formula 2 career of mine. So who the actor is going to be, there are several options, I believe. Again, it's too early to discuss these options, but they've started finishing the script, so hopefully it'll go into production in the next few months. Yeah, Will
it be in multiple languages? Will all of India get to watch the film?
I think these days that's quite easy to do. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so lots again been spoken about how you've teamed with Ajit Kumar for the Asian D-Man series. Now, how is it to be associated with him, to work with him, both as a racer and as a person?
I mean, Ajit is really, very down to earth. He's a superstar, mega superstar, and I'll tell you what happened in Dubai 3 months ago. Dubai Autodrome is one of the most famous tracks in the Middle East. And he announced that he was racing in one of the series he drives in. It's the Porsche Super Cup. And that track had never seen a crowd like that ever before and ever since. So they had 50,000 people cheering him on and so on. So I've known Ajit for many years, and he's always been interested in racing, and he was a bike racer himself. Couldn't do it full time, but he does a lot of aero modeling. So he had the speed bug had bitten him very early on. But for him to start representing, putting together an Indian team, a truly Indian team with Indian drivers and so on was, we had a discussion. We met for dinner last year in Dubai. And then he had this plan, and he said, Naren, would you like to, I'd really like you to drive with me in this team we are creating. And I brushed it off, and I was like, yeah, surely, I'd like to do that. Nothing happened. 6 months later, he called me and said, let's do this. It is the Asian Le Mans series, which if you drive well and if you get certain results, you'll qualify as an Indian team to represent in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in France in June. So that's the goal. We're all working hard towards it. Last 18 months, he's been putting a lot of effort into his driving. As I told you, nothing comes easy. He was very talented, gifted driver, but he has to go through the what you need to. A lot of, he's had his fair share of incidents and so on, but he's come out of all of that. He's become a much better driver, very competitive driver. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Our first race is in December in Sepang in Malaysia, after which in Abu Dhabi, and then hopefully we'll qualify. And, a lot of things are planned, and he's a great guy, very, down to earth and easy to get along with. And he wants to learn off, a lot of, on the driving tactics and so many other things which go with racing from professional drivers like us.
Wonderful, and it's the passion for racing that brings the two of you together. In fact, he has the most wonderful things to say about you in all his interviews where he mentions you. Tell us about that first meeting that the two of you had. How long ago was it? And while he was focusing on his acting career, how did he keep in touch with you and tell you that, this is something I really want to take on?
Yeah, I mean, as I told you, we met way back just early 2000s, I think 2001 or 2. By the time, of course, he'd known about me racing in Formula 2 at that time, World Series, which is an equivalent to Formula 2. And so we were in touch for a long time, and he actually started driving in a professional series at that time. So I used to give him a lot of tips because I knew the tracks in England, and we were constantly in touch, and that's when I knew he was a very genuine character, really down to earth, and loved speed, and always wanted to help the motorsport community, and he tried doing that way back in the early 2000s, and then went back into acting for many years. Of course, we were, always we were in touch, and then this opportunity came along, and I could never say no, and it's so genuinely happy for him and for myself to be doing this racing together.
How would you describe the state of Indian motorsport today in comparison to when you started? Because earlier there was a driver, there was a team, there was a Grand Prix. What is it today, and how do you think we need to pull up our socks?
Yeah, like you said, there was an Indian driver in me, there was an Indian team, Force India, there was an Indian Grand Prix. Now all this is gone, and we are back to basics. Why? Because, possibly, we were, it was very too early. The exposure wasn't so much to the sport. It's still a very, very, very niche sport in India, but then the focus on Formula One globally has been so big that it's also had an effect in India. And there's a lot of Formula One fans, through Drive to Survive. There are a lot of subscribers for watching the Formula One races, and the F1 movie has done its bit. So suddenly everybody's talking about Formula One, and so I think it's only a matter of time before the motorsport ecosystem kind of gets back into its feet and starts growing. Of course, the go-karting scene in India has always been there, but parents have seen these other documentaries on F1, and now they're pushing the children, or the children themselves have a lot of interest. So that's gaining a lot of momentum. But then that is the kindergarten of motorsports. Two-wheeler racing has become very popular. There are a lot of one-make series. TVS has promoted a one-make series, which is very popular. So if you see the riders and drivers in India, there are quite a few of them. It's just giving them the opportunity to go make themselves globally known. So that's going to take a bit of time, but certainly that ecosystem is getting built nicely, I feel.
You've also now changed gears, turned entrepreneur with drivex. You're wearing its shirt. How do you describe this experience? Is it like starting a whole new race altogether?
It's much more difficult than racing, for sure. But it's a very competitive environment. We are in the pre-owned refurb. We've built a pre-owned refurb platform for two-wheelers. And for us, fortunately, TVS Motor Company came on board. They invested heavily into the company. They created a lot of infrastructure, and within a short period of 4 years, we've gone on to become the largest pre-owned two-wheeler platform in the country. So, which is quite a challenging task to do. But yeah, it's a very exciting journey. There are many parallels between running a business and the sport of Formula One. So, I was exposed to this, this entrepreneurial skill very early on. And why did I do this? I had to do something in the auto ecosystem because that's what my exposure is. And so yeah, that's given me insights into the business and really enjoying it. Was based out of Bangalore for quite a few years. And yeah, really built this company, but now it's gone on to the next level with the TVS Motor Company investing a lot more into the business. So yeah, this is really challenging, but it's extremely insightful. And yeah, I'm to become an entrepreneur was I think was a great journey as well.
Why didn't you think of starting drivex probably at an earlier stage when you were at the peak of your racing career? It would have probably scaled differently. Do you think so? And what is the vision for drivex in the next 5 years?
Well, I could never have done it earlier because, you're traveling the globe, and any business, any startup, you need to be there, hands-on, you need to do, you need to wear many hats, and that's how the business grows. And I could have never done it earlier because, being a professional racing driver takes a lot of time, and a lot of time on fitness, a lot of time on a lot of interaction with the team, with the media, with so many other things. And globally, you're traveling, you have 20 races when I drove. So you're constantly, at that time, testing was, you could test every week as well. And so it was, you had a break on Monday, then you started the testing, and then the race weekend, and then by the time you could recover, you were again doing. So I could have never done it so early on. But yeah, I mean, drivex, as I told you just now, it's a great platform and really proud to be part of it. And still we are growing.
You've also spoken about AI in mobility as a game changer. How do you see it transforming the future of transportation in India?
I think the biggest contributor to this ADAS technology for our Indian roads is how it's going to become much more safer. The environment is going to become much more safer. I always say, in India, for example, we have the highest accidents, highest deaths in road accidents, from road accidents, and so on. But our infrastructure is, you can see the roads, they're getting a lot better. You can see the vehicles, they're getting a lot faster and so on. But the civic sense of driving and riding is still very poor. So with all the technology that is being focused right now, our roads are going to be a lot more safer. I always, 10 years ago, I used to say the racetracks are much safer than our Indian roads. But thankfully, that is changing. And, we're going to have this, I think, basically, we're going to have much safer roads in the next, not too far from now, not next 4 or 5 years.
You interact with a lot of young talent, aspirants who want to be like you. Do you think that India truly has the potential to produce more Formula One stars? And what do we need to do to get there?
Well, India thrives largely in a sport like cricket because the infrastructure has been there for many years. And of course, the barriers to get into the sport is a lot easier. But having said that, football is catching up. Other sports are also being given opportunities. Motorsport, be it four-wheelers or two-wheelers or, any kind of motorsport, the equipment itself is quite expensive. So there are a lot more entry barriers. So we need more corporate support. Of course, the duty structure for go-karting, for example, they're not built, professional go-karts have to be still imported. The duty structures are so high that it is an expensive sport in Europe. And then when it comes to India, you add the duties just, way beyond the means of many people here. And I wish that could, become slightly better. And I think we already, as I told you earlier, a lot of drivers and riders who are aspiring to be professionals in the sport, and it's a great sport. I think, matter of time before the corporate world and some sort of, government incentives could happen in the near future, I hope. And our federation is very actively trying to, build this ecosystem.
At the start of this interview, you had spoken about the new racing track that you're helping build, and you're also involved in COAST, which is about 10 minutes from here, you said. How are you now contributing to making this a reality when it comes to aiding the young aspirants?
As I told you earlier, I helped to design a racetrack, not too far from here. It's about 10-15 minutes from this location. It's a grade 2 facility which is still under development, but primarily it's being used for development of new R&D vehicles and so on. Racing, it's going to take a little bit more time, but the go-karting infrastructure is completed, and we've had some national races here. We've been trying to put this together for a long time. Similar-minded people, my friend Charles here, who's also helped extensively with creating this infrastructure. And, so together, all of us are trying to give back something to the sport in terms of a great facility, especially in the kindergarten of motorsport, I would say, karting and motorcycle racing and so on. But right now, a lot of manufacturers are using it for the development of their, motor vehicles, their platforms. A lot of ADAS technology is being perfected here. It serves much more of a purpose in the auto ecosystem.
Naren, there's so much on the internet, and thanks to ChatGPT, in terms of advice on fitness, diet, etc., the works. What is your advice to this generation when it comes to all these aspects of hard work, fitness, diet, dedication? Like, how do you keep it all together?
Well, it's gone to a different level, any sport which is competitive, any world championship, you need to get there. There's nothing just about talent. There are so many things outside of that, Driving, if you take racing, for example, I would say it's only 10% of the 90% is, putting to have a good physical, mental ability, lot of, hard work with fitness, eating the right diet, learning from experience, learning from your team. So teamwork is extremely important in the world of motorsport because you only see two drivers, the focus is on them, but behind them there are thousands of people, lots of data, and there are some clever minds who put this all together and use those technology to help you to hone your skills and become a better racing driver. But I made it to Formula One from India 20 years ago, so I'm sure there are opportunities now for drivers and riders who want to do who want to do F1 or MotoGP or whatever, or become a professional racing driver to make a living out of it. The opportunities are far greater now, for sure. I find it impossible to believe that, it's taken 20 years, for somebody else to get to Formula One from India. China has a big push. They've had Chinese drivers. But, we have a lot of talented young drivers and riders in our country. It's just giving them that platform which is going to make them shine globally. And I hope, we can, in the next few years, we see a lot more, competitive motorsport stars from India.
How much do you miss those races, the adrenaline rush, the tough circuits, that very busy life, and how do you space it out now? What do you do in your free time?
I don't watch too much of Formula One because I don't have time, and or I can keep up with the rules. They keep changing every weekend, so it's confusing. But this year it's been so dominant. McLaren, Piastri, and Norris have dominated it. And, suddenly, you can never count out Verstappen. From nowhere, yesterday he won the race in Monza. But the Formula One title, the constructors is almost decided, and it will be between these two drivers. So apart from that, I focus on my business, and we are trying to create and finish this racing infrastructure as soon as possible. So it gives other people a chance to, drive something locally, which is built up to a very, very high grade to international standard.
Naren, we are coming to the end of this session, and I want to end by asking you, Pullela Gopichand said that sports in India remains prohibitively expensive for ordinary athletes.
Yeah, absolutely.
From your experience, how do you see this challenge, and what can we do to make sports a viable livelihood in India?
Sports is very important for young people growing up, because it puts a lot of discipline in you from a very early age, and in a sense gives you a lot of activity to do outdoors. And now today we're in an age where everything happens at your fingertips, but then it gives you a lot more focus. It gives you a much better way, a much better healthy lifestyle going forward. The emphasis should be on promoting sport, and for that, you need a lot. I can speak about my sport, motorsport. There's a lot more focus on it. There is a lot of leagues which have come up recently. There's the motocross league, there's the Indian racing league. So people are seeing, there is exposure. Only if you have exposure do the corporates come on board to support it. So things are changing. So I think, the future seems to be quite bright. And, as I said earlier, I would love to contribute whatever from my side to, help develop the next generation of racers from our country.
We wish you all the very best for that. And we want to thank you for being here. It's been wonderful talking to you. Let's have a huge round of applause for Naren Karthikeyan and this wonderful conversation we've had with him.
Thank you very much. Thank you.